Right, so High Seas has brought with it a renewed focus on gold, right? But similarly to Heavy Hitters, it is primarily on the actual heroes featured in the sets. There is a little bit of spillover, right? It's actually, to me, more impactful than what we got through Heavy Hitters, right? Not a big fan of the wage mechanic unless the hero is built for wage, and obviously same with Clash. So for instance, Melody and Shiyana, I don't run any of the Heavy Hitters cards. But for High Seas, right, what exactly can we take? So, for reference, Melody, Final Act, right? That is the build that I like taking. So the idea there, right? The more gold, the more silver you have to basically pitch and draw and just stack up that pitch pile for your Final Act damage is what you're aiming for. And then as Shiyana, right, I'm really enjoying the Arc Lightning shenanigans. So Arc Lightning into Blazing Aether, and similarly, although you don't care about the pitch stack, you do care about the go again procs on gold or silver. So they both mechanically function the same way. They do have different card pools, right? Shiyana has access to all the specs, which makes her kind of a little bit better than Melody and the, couple of Bard cards that are actually feasible, right, on a one-to-one blitz. But yeah, what did High Seas bring to the table? Well, first off, we should probably talk about the discard package, if you will. So Rally the Rearguard, Trade-In, Rowdy Locals, and Sigil of Cycles. So basically, these cards are nice in the fact that they compensate, in a sense, for, say, taking items, right? Rally the Rearguard converts an item into block, which is beautiful. Trade-In can help you quickly cycle through your deck. And again, if you're just gunked up on items, because most items don't have Go Again, although generally speaking, as Melody, you want the Go Again amulets, right? Because you're just trying to cash out. Whereas with Shiyana, you want the Go Again potions, since they're extra procs for the Arc Lightning. So trade in just to sift through the deck, or again, discard one of these less functional cards. Same with Rowdy Locals or Sigil Cycles. Beautiful. But with High Seas, we have another Rally the Coast Guard. So it is exactly the same as Rally the Rearguard, just one extra cost and stat and power. But again, just the fact that we now have double the card pool to, again, compensate for those items is really, really nice. Not to mention the actual good discard cards featured in High Seas. So again, compensating for items like Energy Potion or Potion of Strength, which you can't actually block with. So if you need to get rid of them on a defensive turn, the rallies are really, really nice. But with High Seas, we get Sea Legs, Fool's Gold, and Sirens of Safe Harbor, along with the actual block that also gains life when it's put into the graveyard. But I think that's probably still not worth taking, as you're already kind of under breakpoints as either Shiyana or Melody with the quality of cards. So generally speaking, you don't want a one block, even if it does net you a decent chunk of life, right? But Sea Legs. When this is discarded, create a Gold Kiss Rum token. A Gold Kiss Rum token, for reference, is basically a free Go Again proc at the cost of tapping your hero, which means nothing, right? Neither Shiyana or Melody have a tap ability, so tapping them through our Rum is definitely really nice. And then we have Fool's Gold. When this is discarded, create a gold token. And in this sort of build, I actually like this a lot more than the Fable, right? Because again, it's about getting that value on the opponent's turn, if you will, or at the start of your turn, while also then double dipping and get the gold value off of actual Fool's Gold. Whereas with the Riches, the Fable from High Seas, it's pitch it to create gold, meaning that, well, you don't want to block with it, you don't want to discard to power up, rally with it. You don't want to discard at the start of your turn, you want to pitch it. Makes it a little bit awkward, right? But other than that, Sirens of Safe Harbor just being as a gain life, again, converting its block to Rally. Rally is the main focal point that we're going to zero in on, but all these are still functional with those other discard effects as well. So this is a really, really nice package to take with Melody or Shiyana. Now, the other cards mentioned, so again, Gold Kiss Rum, there's the ability if you want to give it a read. Riches, we already went over, but we have the Nimbleism stuff. So Nimby, fetching Nimbleism, and then we also have the Jack, be quick, and Jack, be nimble, right? So those cards in a more aggressive styling of either deck is definitely really, really nice. And aggressive Melody has worked here or there, but being me, I much prefer the high stakes, gamble it, right, and go big or go home. So yeah, why don't we take a look at what the decks currently look like in that fashion. So we'll start with Shiyana, right? And again, this is a very gimmicky version, right? We're taking as many Go Again pieces of equipment as we can, because they're essentially just a +1 to the Arc Lightning damage, although they also feed into one another. So for instance, Blossom Spring feeds into Mage Master Boots, which then feeds into Blazing Aether, right? Which is definitely really, really nice. But of course, you can still take a much more aggressive package if you want, either going wide or tall, right? You've got the Guardian package if you want to go tall, and then you have the Ninja stuff if you want to go wide, along with the new Nimbleism stuff for Shiyana, which should really work a treat. But in terms of the gimmick, right? So again, our main shtick is we want to find our Arc Lightnings and we want to find our Blazing Aethers. So it's Arc Lightning, Blazing Aether, along with whatever go again procs we can manage. So if we can build up a better stockpile of gold, even a little bit of silver, that's definitely really nice, right? We can get rid of our Flail, Shield, and Crown through our cash out. And then, of course, we now have cards like Fool's Gold. But the other discard that I really enjoy in Shiyana is Become the Arknight. So discard an attack action card, search your deck for a Runeblade non-attack action card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So obviously this works wonders with Sea Legs. We can discard Sea Legs, find an Arc Lightning, and generate a Gold Kiss run. So that is definitely really nice. And then again, through taking the rallies, we can take a couple more items. So Potion of Strength, having a +2 and a go again. So that can either pump Flail or just an attack that we throw out with the go again proc of Arc Lightning. I kind of like a few smaller attacks, but in a pinch, Sirens of Safe Harbor, rallies, they all are attacks anyway, so we can use them aggressively if need be, right, on the Arc Lightning payoff turn. Other than that, just some utility, so Ice Eternal to stall, some life gain through Germinate and Heartbeat of Candlehold. Right, Germinate also works wonders as just powering up your blocks, create 1 to 2 embodiments of Earths, and then all of your non-attack action cards are much better. Otherwise, Lessons in Lava to find Blazing Aether, Endless Winter, again, just as a slowdown card. So yeah, I mean, I have a few videos using this, right, and burning people with the gimmicky version. So just adding in those extra cards, the rallies, we take more discard now, since again, it should be a bit more functional, is definitely really nice. Up the ante is also something I never really took, just because it's a feels bad if your opponent does block it out. So primarily, my mentality would be this goes on to Flail or a 2-cost card. On Flail, your opponent can still pretty much shut it down with a defense reaction. And then on anything bigger, your opponent's more likely to block it anyway. So it can be a little bit rough, but it's a 3-block in a pinch. Otherwise, it's another chance at gold gen. And Visit the Gold Main Estate is just beautiful, right? Just creating gold tokens. And then the Might, again, Might goes into Flail. So yeah, you have a really easy time just doing decently with Flail. Other than that, if we did want to swap over to something bigger, right, again, we have the Guardian stuff, or we can take Snatch, Spring Tidings, our Whirling Mist Blossoms, and our Alluring Inducements, right? Again, either go wide or tall. Golden Glare is also another interesting choice. So if this depends with 2 or more yellow cards, create a gold token. Golden Glare, obviously, instead of Crown, to be a bit more proactive in blocking, right? We do have a decent chunk of yellows. We can either block with Lessons in Lava, Sea Legs, or Arc Lightning if we really have to. But in that case, we'd probably also want something like Golden Sun and Alluring Inducement, especially Alluring Inducement with its Unity proc, or even the Lexi spec, right? Which is, God, it's create embodiments, but I'm thinking what is the actual effect? It's like just 1 normal damage, 1 plain damage, right? Deal 1 damage anytime an opponent adds a card to the chain. It is definitely a yellow. Right? It should be... No, I'm guessing I missed it. You know what I can do? I can literally type in Lexi. Yeah. So, cooldown lightning. Yeah. Where is it? Where actually is it? Is it in the deck? No. I'm absolutely blind. There it is. Cooldown lightning, right? So, your attacks this turn get whenever the defending hero adds 1 or more defending cards from hand to the chain. This deals 1 damage to them. Go again. So on the Arc Lightning turn, that's definitely nice. It's a little bit extra damage. Obviously, it doesn't count towards Blazing Aether, but if we are trying to stick an attack in there through the Go Again proc off of Arc Lightning, definitely helpful. Otherwise, that just in the big package, again, aiming for those 4 costs, does seem definitely solid, right? But I will most likely stick with the gimmicky version for the time being, right? So if we draw 4, for instance, set up Sigil, probably play Lessons, Arsenal Potion Strength, and then have Sea Legs to discard with Sigil on the next turn, right? And then Ice Eternal, just off of as many blues as we can pitch into it. So yeah, definitely really workable. And again, it's just how quickly can you find Arc Lightning and Blazing Aether? And I think you can find it relatively quickly, right? Same with Final Act Melody, which is the other one we'll discuss. So, Final Act Melody, a bit more defensive, so we take the Plague Beckoners, and the goal is, vastly the same. We're just trying to build up a board state that then allows us to use Final Act. So I take Fleetfoot Sanders, you can take Snapdragon Scalers as well, but the idea here is it's the easy go again proc for our Final Act into Final Act. Although again, we have Gold Kiss Rum, so maybe you take something like Quick Dodge and you're banking on the Gold Kiss Rum as the go again proc. You also have Trot Along as another card to feed into it, but I like having the proc on the board, right? Because you're a bit tighter in terms of what cards you actually need in your hand, right? So since we are primarily in silver, we have to maintain blues. If we dip down, right, we can salvage ourselves a little bit off of the gold that we've generated. But generally speaking, we need to be hardlined into blue so that we can go silver into silver into silver. But again, the rally stuff, right, compensates for the items we're taking, and Fool's Gold gets us that benefit of sea legs. And I have thrown in Nimby and Nimblism, right, just as, again, a feeder into a blue. That blue then, again, continues with our course. So it's just an attack that you can throw out for a little bit of chip damage, and chip damage definitely matters with Final Act, right, because it can be very, very tight getting to the right amount of damage. But I don't think there's actually much else to say, right? Arcane switches if you need, Talishir if you need to be a little bit more aggressive. Obviously, Riches and I fit into this really well. And then again, quick dodge flexes instead of the Fleetfoot Sandals if we're banking on Trot Along or our Gold Kiss Realm, right? So yeah, just try and speed through the deck as quick as possible, set up some items, cash them out, and then go. The nice thing about this, as opposed to Shiyana though, is as Final Act is when it attacks, obviously, rather than the go against procs, we are doing all our draw before, so we have a much easier time once we get the board state assembled, just trying to find Final Act, right, in our bottom, 20 cards. So I do think, statistically, this deck has a higher chance to succeed, again, as a gimmick sense, but you can definitely make them both, again, decent, aggressive decks, because the quality cards are just, the quality cards are just steadily increasing, right? We are getting pretty impactful generics across the board, and some other toolkit pieces, right? Again, I'm very much enjoying the focus on other strings of cards like Nimby and Nimblism now with the Jack B Quicks, and they definitely slot into either deck pretty comfortably, and you can just do Final Act or even the Arc Lightning shenanigans as a side mechanic rather than, again, trying to assemble the perfect board state to make an OTK, right? Still Final Acting for, 8 damage, 12 damage is still really, really nice, right? Other than that, is there any decks you're excited for, right? Blitz-wise? Because Blitz to me is, obviously a very gimmicky testing ground. I think Marlin with Death Dealer is going to have a blast, right? But we'll leave it there. Hope you enjoyed. See ya.